Hey everybody, thanks for listening to the El Toro's podcast, exclusively now on Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Here, let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on things like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can also make money from your podcast, which is always a plus, with no minimum listenership. And it's everything you need to make a podcast right at your fingertips and in one place. I can't believe it took me this long to switch over to Anchor.fm, but I couldn't be happier now. So, get yourself started and download the free Anchor app now, or go to Anchor.fm to get started.
Hello, citizens of the Capitol. Welcome to the Capitol Wrestling Podcast, episode 48. We are getting up there in age. I am your host, the fashionable fashionista of Brooklyn, New York, Darnell Mitchell. I am writing solo for the last week. Dustin will be making his long-awaited return next week, and I'm very, very glad to hear from him. I'm glad to hear what he's thought about Capitol Wrestling in his absence. But yeah, this week we're going to talk about some great stuff that happened in Capitol Wrestling, and we have a great interview for you. The podcast is available to listen on El Toro Podcast Network, YouTube for Capitol Wrestling, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, AMC Network, Blueberry, and of course, ProWrestlingIowa.net. We're going to start off talking a little bit about what happened this week on Capitol Wrestling TV on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Capitol Wrestling. I have an incredible interview with one half of the great commentary team of Capitol Wrestling. That is with Stephen James. Super fun, great guy. One of the best things I think about doing this, and when I get to quote unquote interview people, is that I never feel like it reads like an interview, and I hope that the listeners agree with that assessment. It feels like a conversation. With that great conversation I had with Mifo Mofo last week, and now with this great outing with Stephen James, I can't wait to continue to talk to all of the people who have helped make Capitol Wrestling what it is. So yeah, that's pretty great. And then we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the new developments that have happened in Capitol Wrestling in preparation for our anniversary show on March 24th. Let's start talking a little bit about what happened on Capitol Wrestling TV. It's always on Mondays, twitch.tv/Capitol Wrestling, 7:05 p.m. and then on YouTube immediately after. Don't forget, you can actually watch it on Facebook as well. If there's one thing that's true, there is no shortage of places that you can actually enjoy Capitol Wrestling, which I love. We started out with Nyla Rose on the phone with some mysterious person as Rumped Up was trying to figure out who their backup was going to be, and it's none other than the rock god, Ronnie Burton. I am in love with Ronnie Burton. Don't tell him. Even though I just told the entire world. So I was extremely excited when I was at Masterclass to see Ronnie Burton because he's one of my faves. And Nyla Rose has been consistently one of the funniest people on the roster. That's just natural charisma. It's kind of amazing. We are then brought to the ring where the Dangerous Sanctuary, that is the Supreme Truth, Timmy Danger, accompanied by Ryan Zane and Neil Sharkey, come out to the ring Unfortunately, at this time, Ryan Zane is still not medically cleared to wrestle. So Timmy Danger because he's such a giving man, gives the opportunity to someone else to potentially join the Dangerous Sanctuary. He's such a giver, such a giver, such a sweetheart. He gives that opportunity to Ethan Sharp, who comes out wearing the most ridiculous but adorable outfit I've ever seen and has a porn mustache that would make Dirk Diggler from Boogie Nights jealous. It's so amazing. And he looks about as much as I weigh. But Ethan Sharp is out here to make a name for himself and to hopefully join the Dangerous Sanctuary, which, they're a team to be. They're not a team to mess around on. So what a team for him to want to be a part of. Then we have the introduction, of course, Nyla Rose ramped up with the support of Ronnie Burton, and our tag team match is underway. One of the things I really, really do love about Capital Wrestling is that things just happen. There's not really a lot of need for story and understanding in terms of why. Who cares that it's a woman wrestling in this tag team match. It's not made a big deal. It's just like Nyla Rose is bigger than most of the men, and she will kill you and rip you apart and then eat nachos right afterwards. So I always find that to be an exciting little thing about Capital Wrestling, that everything just happens naturally, because of course it should be happening naturally. Rumped Up is kind of sort of the ring is cut between Rumped Up and his partner in Nyla. And I think Timmy Danger and Ethan Sharp do a good job of isolating him and kind of controlling the mat and working very, very well for a brand new team. We have Ryan Zane, who accompanies them on commentary, actually, and just I always forget how good of a talker Ryan Zane is. He's fascinating to listen to, very quick, very witty person. So I highly recommend, even if there's one thing you do, just listen to the jokes that Ryan does. He is the most believable person. And I almost believe that he really isn't medically cleared, because I know he's lying. Because never trust a man that wears sunglasses inside. Never. The match is really, really fun. It's kind of a great showcase in tag team wrestling of cutting off the ring. Neil Sharkey does his best to distract as much as possible. Ronnie does his best to keep things in order, and to sort of even the score as much as possible. After a lot of attempts, Rubbed Up finally is able to make the hot tag. Nyla comes in and cleans house, clothesline. And Neil, being the opportunistic person that he is, tries to interrupt Nyla, but Ronnie evens the odds by grabbing his leg and knocking him down. Then apparently Ryan, for some reason, is able to get physical and actually throws my man, Ronnie Burton, into the ring post. You could actually see me in the crowd, and it took a lot for me to just not go comfort him and make sure he was okay. Because that was not very nice, Ryan, and I'm not here for it. And next time I'm there, we're going to have a word with one another. So yeah, after Ronnie is on the ground, because Ryan Zane is a poo-poo head, Timmy tries to capitalize on this dastardly deeds that are going on the outside with a schoolboy, but for a 2 count. Timmy and Ethan attempt to double team Nyla, but Rumped Up interferes with his version of the rear end, so to speak, and that's quite a lot of rear end to to run into, allowing Nyla to hit the beast drop, which is a sit-out powerbomb for the 1, 2, 3. Nyla Rose and Rumped Up continue gaining momentum on their way to anniversary for the tag team gauntlet match that they will be a part of. Really, really fun match. Great way to showcase them, and great way to introduce everyone to Ethan Sharp. Another great way to introduce Ethan Sharp is to then impale his head in the mat, because Timmy is not very happy with the performance and does just that. It's sort of modified inverted DDT to Ethan to make it known that he is not going to be a part of the Sanctuary. Great action here from Capital Wrestling. Like always. and great commentary by Capital Wrestling. I love the commentary team. They're fantastic and interesting, and they do a good job of making you understand all of the things that are going on. Harry Tarjanian and Stephen James are a great team, and their back and forth banter reminds me very much so of the commentary of old days. And again, like I told you guys, I got a chance to speak to Stephen and kind of get inside his head, his relationship with the people of Capital Wrestling, his relationship with Harry himself, which apparently isn't the best, and his impeccable style. So let's throw it to that interview right now. This is myself and Stephen James talking a little bit about Capital Wrestling and life. Hello, citizens of the Capitol. It is I, Darnell Mitchell, the fabulous fashionista of Brooklyn, and I am here with a special guest this week for the Capital Wrestling Podcast. I am here one half of the Capital Wrestling commentary team, Stephen James. How are you?
How's it going? I would say the better half of the commentary team, but Harry might be a little upset about that, Cal.
Yes, you commentate with Harry Tarjanian. See, look, I got it.
You got it.
And you are the voice of Capital Wrestling. And you kind of get all the crowd hyped up, and you also have, not to toot my own horn, we know how well dressed I am. But if someone is giving me the run for my money, it's got to be you.
The moment I saw you in a Capital Wrestling crowd, I was like, that is my kindred spirit. I mean, never have there been such well-dressed men in professional wrestling. It's fantastic. Just to look out into the sea, the mass of people who are normally wearing their wrestling T-shirts, their Bullet Club T-shirts, they're this, they're that, and to see another man dressed as dapperly as I am, it's a nice feeling to know that, it's appreciated out there.
Exactly. And you actually wore a great... What did you wear? You wore an American flag jacket at Masterclass?
Masterclass, I wore the American flag suit just to let everyone know where I stand patriotically and fashionably. You got to be able to mix the two. I've got a gold suit that I'm going to be wearing for anniversary. Very excited for that.
Oh, I still need to figure out my outfit. On that note, how about you tell everybody, kind of what you do for Capital Wrestling, how you got involved with Capital Wrestling, your relationship with Marcus and Mr. Matthew Ryan Shapiro.
I got into the wrestling commentating business a little bit, strangely, because there was a company called 2K Pro Wrestling being run by Pete, by a guy named Pete, AJ Orsini, and Matt. And I was brought in as an audio guy because my background is broadcasting, radio, podcasting, things like that. So I was brought in to do the audio for them, record their commentary and stuff like that. At the time, it was Brandon Lewis and Christopher Brace. Christopher Brace was doing the commentary, and I decided to help them out and do what I needed to do. One day, one of them couldn't make it, so I filled in for them. And that was it. I just started from there, worked with Matt. AJ and Matt gave me the opportunity. Went from there, worked with 2KW for about a year. Then Future Is Now, I did an event with them, which was fantastic. And then Matt approached me again. Me and my partner Marcus are looking to start another venture. Would you like to be involved? And I jumped at the opportunity. So it's not only just commentary that I'm doing. I also set up all the house audio with the help of Mike Kaufman and Greg Massey and a bunch of other super talented people. I help write, I help produce, I help edit. That's the thing about Capital. You have to wear multiple hats because there's so much going on, and we're such a tight-knit group of people that everyone has to pull the rope in order to make this successful.
Yeah, it's something that as I say this, I want to make sure it's clear. I'm not nearly as involved as anyone else, but it's something that I recognize very quickly is that they're kind of a jack of all trades. Everyone is involved with everything, and it is a very much so close-knit family. You get the feeling that, people like each other. people really, really like wrestling and they believe in Capital Wrestling. As a person who is obviously part of Capital Wrestling, what do you think makes Capital Wrestling stand out a little bit more than other wrestling companies out there at the moment?
Honestly, for me, it's the people that make Capital Wrestling. It's the people behind the scenes. It's the people in the ring. It's the people who are willing to invest their time and their energy in something that they believe in, a product that they believe in. It's the little things. It's the details. It's always striving to do something different, do something more. I've been to tons of independent wrestling shows, and generally the formula for the most part, and not saying that there's anything wrong with this, but the formula is generally the same. You've got your card, and maybe you get food, maybe you get something for intermission. With Capital, we do all of that. We're sort of a carnival. We live that carny lifestyle with that. We have live bands come in for intermissions on occasion. The food is always rotating. We've had artists come. We've had podcasts being recorded live there. So it's kind of the philosophy of getting everyone under the same tent is kind of what makes Capital Wrestling special. If and when you come to a Capital Wrestling event, it is yours. You come in. It is tailor-made for a wide berth of people, and everyone I know who has come has left with the feeling that each and every person there is speaking directly to them. I get to talk to as many people who enjoy our product as humanly possible, and some people who don't. But by the time I'm done talking to them, I'm like a used car salesman. I will convince you that Capital is worth giving a chance, and it is.
That's awesome. I agree. It has something for everybody, and I think wrestling is a buffet, and not enough wrestling companies utilize all of their different elements that they can to make something that's special. What was your first wrestling memory, like when you were a kid? Did you watch it when you were a kid, or? Oh
yeah, my grandmother was a huge fan. I grew up
Really? Your grandma?
Yeah, I grew up in Brooklyn, and I come from an Italian family. That's my background. And of course, if you were from Brooklyn in the 70s and 80s, you were a Bruno Sammartino fan. So my grandmother was a huge Bruno fan. So I used to watch matches, because she got into it because of Bruno. But by the time I was of age to really remember it, it was guys like Jake the Snake. So my first memory is actually watching wrestling on my grandmother's knee. It was a Jake the Snake match. It's the only thing that I can clearly remember from that time. But she was the one that really pushed wrestling. And of course, my mother was into it as well. I mean, not as big as my grandmother was, but she kind of nurtured that gift or that passion as I went along.
That's so funny. That's so interesting that two of the women in your life were the ones that got you actually into wrestling. Was it something when you were younger that you thought to yourself you would ever be involved in, or?
I never thought, because you got to remember the wrestling business was so protected then. There wasn't a lot really known about how you get into it, or what you do, to even approach wrestlers. It was the age of kayfabe. Plus back then, I'm not sure how old you are. I think we're in similar age brackets, but the generation that I'm in lived in a time before the internet and the time of the birth of the internet. So during that time growing up, I had no clue. I could just access things. It was whatever you saw of a television character on screen is who they were growing up. You knew nothing else about them unless you happened to see them in a Hotel Ramada.
Yeah, that's a good point. I am technically a millennial. I'm in that age, but I'm 32.
They keep extending the age bracket. It's very confusing.
It's very confusing. I think it goes up to I think it's 18 to 35 or something like that. But I am in a situation where I remember having a typewriter as a kid.
Ooh.
But I also remember when we first got our first computer and how big of a deal it was for us.
Oh, it was huge. When families used to just have one computer for everybody.
Yeah, and you were just like, oh, this is the time that you get to use it as you try to upload that image of Sunny on JPEG. Like pixel, pixel, pixel.
Looking like an old Matt Hardy Titantron with MatFax, just the Windows Media Player.
Oh God, those were the days.
Oh.
But yeah, I think that's a great point that we were kind of what you saw was what you got, you know. And I think that wrestling has changed a lot because of social media. And I'm not always sure if it's for the better, but there are people like MJF, for example, who I believe has wrestled for Capital Wrestling once
Yes.
before, who I love. I would have never known about him, but his Twitter is great.
Oh,
So
his Twitter is fantastic. The guy is a complete blue chipper. I've had the privilege of being able to call a few of his matches in various companies, and the guy is just a bona fide star.
Absolutely, and he's the example of using technology in 2000 and what is he, 2 year vet, so 2016, and helping him get into the wrestling business in a new and exciting way.
Knowing how to augment his public profile into his character to make it more realistic. He gives you a full experience. When you leave the ring, after you've seen him, you see the stuff that he posts on social media. It always ties into what he's doing at the time. I think you're absolutely right. He's done a really good job with that.
Thank you. I'm always right. So I just want to make sure
I'm glad I've learned that.
that we are clear on that. And I'm really, really humble. So
Oh, yeah, I tell everybody I know how humble I am.
I'm the bestest. I actually, you know, speaking of someone like MJF, I think that. What do you think of this time right now in wrestling in general? I think that it's probably the most robust that it's ever been.
I think it's really cool for me because growing up, I was a fan of WWE, WCW, ECW, the big American three.
Mm-hmm.
But now, you know, it seems more like that territory system now with all of these independents. Anytime people can draw a paycheck and make a living in wrestling, it's a good time for wrestling. There's so many tents, as I alluded to before, that people can get behind. There's so many companies. And you know, some people will say that dilutes the product. But for somebody, you can go and see an independent wrestling show every day of the week if you really wanted to. And that's a fantastic thing for a wrestling fan. We're in the golden age of wrestling. All of the products, I mean, I might not necessarily agree with everything that happens in all of these companies, you know, WWE, New Japan, you know, ROH, even our own. You might not necessarily, but the content that's there and the talented people that are doing these things all across the world, it's never been like this before. There's never been as much access to wrestling, you know, with streaming platforms like us on Twitch every Monday night, 7:05, and all of that stuff. Companies have never had this kind of access.
No, and it's utilizing the internet is one of the best things possible. I mean, you mentioned a Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/Capital Wrestling. You should subscribe.
Another plug master, yeah.
You know, I try. You know, and now Capital Wrestling is on Fios. It's on RCN on Friday nights at 11 o'clock. Make sure you. Yeah, exactly. There's so many different ways to sort of access things. It's also one of the reasons why I don't like it when people, while I primarily watch WWE, it's very accessible. I love the WWE network, but when people are like, well, I love wrestling, but I just hate WWE, it doesn't really matter if you hate WWE. There's 95 different other options for you to pick from.
Yeah, there's tons of options. I mean, don't get me wrong, like anything else, there's anything else that you love, people ruin it.
Yes.
People can try to ruin it for you. If you're a fan of WWE and you're tired of hearing people bash the product, just don't listen to them. Why do you enjoy it? Why do you consume it? What are the things that you love about it? No company is going to be 10 out of 10, hit everything, hot angles left and right. But if it's the sport you love, give it a benefit of the doubt. See where the story is going to go. If it's a year-long story or a 6-month plan, you can't comment in month 2 that this is a garbage thing before you've seen the finished product. Sure, there's parts that you can't like, but give the benefit of the doubt. See how the story plays out. I mean, we've seen plenty of times where stories are just dropped completely halfway through their plan. And yeah, I understand the frustration, but give us a chance.
Yeah,
Give the wrestling world a chance.
it's a whole complete story. We do it for any other sort of, not to necessarily equate wrestling with TV, but like a season of a show. I want to wait until the end of that season before I can actually make an educated decision as to whether or not I actually liked it.
Yeah, an honest assessment. You can have your thoughts halfway through, but if you're trashing the product, my question is why are you still watching it? If it's something you haven't enjoyed in years, just don't watch it. That's the great part about wrestling right now, as you pointed out. There's so many options for people. If you don't like the WWE, go watch New Japan. You don't like that, go watch ROH and go down the list until you find what kind of wrestling is for you, because I'm not one of those guys who ascribe to, the old wrestling is the way to go. You can't have flips and stuff. I prefer a more old school style of wrestling, but that's just me. There's room at the table for all styles of wrestling.
Yes, absolutely. And as a person who, I don't think you follow me on Twitter, and it's good because I do get in trouble for being very opinionated. There are things in wrestling that aren't the best. There are people in wrestling that we know that aren't the best, but that's the same thing in any sort of entertainment field. And while I am very opinionated about getting those people out of wrestling, if you really hate wrestling, stop watching it. I love it, and I want it to be better.
There's a difference between being passionate, which I do follow you on Twitter.
You do.
There's a difference between being passionate about it like you are, and there's the difference between that and just not liking a person and attacking a person like a lot of people on social media do. If you don't like what the person is doing from a business perspective, comment on that. That's fine. But when you attack a person personally because you don't like what his character is doing, I can't. That's not something I can jive with. And a lot of people on Twitter especially do that. It's really annoying.
Yeah, there are situations where there are. Sorry, this is delving into something different. There are situations where I'm one of those people who, like, if I know an actor is an awful human being, I just don't support him. I don't go see their films. Yeah. And it's the same thing with wrestling. If I think someone, or if I know personally someone who's just a shitty human being. Like
that Harry Turjanian. He's just a terrible human.
He's the fucking worst. Then I just don't support him. It's just, I don't go to their shows. I don't go to shows that are promoted at, and I'm happy because there's still 85 other options to watch and sort of engulf myself with. Besides Capital Wrestling, which of course is the best company out there, what other like wrestling companies do you watch a lot?
Like we were talking about, here's the curse about there being so many options, is there's so much content to consume. You only have so many hours during the day, and I'm already a fairly busy guy like you. I'm all over the place with different projects, different things, my family, things like that. That it's hard to settle down and watch, all of it. Mostly it's just the Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, the WWE stuff. I'll watch a little bit of New Japan, especially if there's a marquee matchup going on or something that I really want to check into. Same thing with ROH. And some indies, I try and check it out because if you want to be good at your craft, you have to be able to see what other people are doing, what they're doing stylistically. If you want to stand out, what are the trends going on in independent wrestling right now? Trying to establish what those are so we can set ourselves apart.
Gotcha. Is there a particular wrestler right now that you think is just killing it on all cylinders? Whether WWE, Capital, New Japan, Progress, it doesn't matter.
I mean, if I'm starting with WWE, for me it's The Miz. The Miz has been killing it.
So good.
He's so good, from promo to look to in. I know people don't like him in the ring because he's not the flashiest guy, but this is my opinion on him and on guys like John Cena and Roman Reigns. If you can sell people using only 5 moves, why would you need a 6th? If you get a crowd reaction with 5 moves, why would you need a 6th? This business is predicated on having a certain amount of bumps on your bump card. At some point, everyone has to cash in on that. If you can mitigate that, that's the reason why a guy like John Cena has had such success that he has had, has been able to recover from injury like the freak of nature that he is because he's not, overextending himself in that regard. You're not going to see John Cena do a 450 splash. You know what I mean? It makes no sense.
I agree. It's also, I remember once talking to my friend about, this was before I really got into a lot of Japanese wrestling, and we were talking about, I don't know if you know the match, Sasha and Bayley at Brooklyn TakeOver.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic.
It's a fantastic match, and it's arguably one of my favorite matches of that year. And his response to it was, well, the women in Japanese wrestling, they do more moves, and I could show you like 20 different better matches. And I was like, well, yeah, like more moves is great and all, but like as long as you can tell the story, I don't care if you do 47 moves to 5. The whole point is telling the story and getting you involved with what's going on.
And they told a fantastic story, and if you can't, I'm the same way. Honestly, for me, as the wrestling fan that I am, if the story isn't first and out there, I don't care how great the match is. It has to have both. I'm more of a story-driven wrestling fan. I mean, action is very important. Don't get me wrong, and putting together a great match. The story within the match has to make sense and has to matter to what's going on outside of the ring as well. When you can put those two together, it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And also, I think people don't appreciate character work while you're wrestling. Like, sometimes I think that people can just, kind of be too much in their head, and I'm just like, wrestle like the character. It should all be an entire story. And that's something that Capital Wrestling does very, very well. I also like Capital Wrestling is, I've said this before, but like wrestling, like, it's pretty gay. And it's dramatic, it's theatrics, it's just athleticism, it's very flamboyant, and that's what I love about wrestling. And I think sometimes when you go to certain shows, it's like, yeah, that's a guy who's a great wrestler, he's wearing his little black tights, that's great, but I want more drama. And I think Capital Wrestling does a good job of, sizzling Stan Styles. Like, who?
Oh, yeah. I've had the pleasure of calling his matches in 3 different companies. The guy puts on a show. The moment Stan Styles comes through the doors, the moment he shows up at the building, he is locked in and ready to go. The guy's got a phenomenal physique. He connects with fans, and he connects with fans like guys connect with women inside of a subway. He just gives you like the just you're just like just don't stand too close to me.
That's actually
but a guy like Ryan Zane, to your point, is another guy who, personality wise, just engages with everyone. He'll come over to the commentary desk. He'll, be on the side of the apron, entertaining fans in the middle of the match, trying to put everything together. Those are the kinds of guys that I like.
Yes, he was also very sassy with me at Masterclass. So.
Oh, was he?
Yes. So we're going to have to fix that at Anniversary. Goodness
gracious. Him and his tuxedo T-shirt. He needs to take pointers from us.
Yeah, and let's put on a real tie, my friend. So you mentioned it, Anniversary. Coming up March 24th, 301 Garden Street, Hoboken, New Jersey, which is still like the easiest place to get to. It's ridiculous how easy it is to get to Hoboken. What are you most looking forward to?
I mean, we've got a lot of matches that are already announced and a bunch that are still coming up. But the thing that I'm looking forward to most is the premiere of Wrestling's Richest Prize, Darius Carter and his Brass Ring Challenge. I've only had a chance to I've been following him on the independent scene this entire time, but I had the chance to call one of his matches in another company, Future Is Now, and just blown away by just the respect. Anywhere he goes, he's the main event. He takes that with him. He has that atmosphere about him where if it's all eyes on me, to quote Tupac. Anytime he goes out there, your eyes are glued to him. So I'm looking forward to that. I wonder who's going to try and grab the brass ring. Darius Carter debuting in Capital Wrestling, or Sonny Kiss versus Matt McIntosh. I think that's a match that a lot of people have been waiting for. Sonny Kiss, obviously a crowd favorite, one of the most important characters and people to the philosophy and the heart of Capital Wrestling. And then you got a guy like Matt McIntosh who hasn't had a lot of success, but it's not for lack of trying. The guy goes out there and he just, whether it be circumstance or his own ego getting in the way, has cost him, victories. But now he seems to be on the rise. This is a guy who a lot of people thought was going to be the first ever Capital Wrestling champion, both of these gentlemen. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a fantastic matchup.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited for that matchup. I've talked extensively why I love Sonny Kiss and how athletic he is and how important he is. But I've also given nothing but praise to Matt McIntosh, who I hope to have on the podcast soon, because he's a great conversation. Oh, that's great. I actually had a great conversation too with the new Sapphire TV champion, Mifo Mofo.
Oh, the Memfo Mofo. Him and Juanita.
Juanita was there with them. But we were like, all right, it's just going to be 15 minutes. And then 50 minutes later, I was like, oh, we got to wrap this shit up. So sorry.
I didn't even realize we went this long. Yeah, he's a very entertaining guy. I don't want to ruin his, thing, but a very nice guy, always looking out for other people. But, he's definitely one of the most deadly men in Capital Wrestling for sure.
Yes. Before we go, I want to ask you something that I asked everyone at the end. What do you think, or what are you most excited for Capital Wrestling in 2018?
I'm just seeing where we can go next. The thing about Capital Wrestling that I love is that, sometimes we step out and try and do things that other companies haven't done, or things that we might not necessarily be quote unquote ready to do, and challenge ourselves to get ready to before that date comes. So I'm interested to see, like, we took on our Twitch partnership, and then it was like, okay, well, we got to put together a live event to stream on Twitch. How do we make this happen? And we learned how to do it while we approached the date. So we set a deadline for ourselves and just ran full bore head first into a wall until we got it. So I'm intrigued to see where we go next in terms of that, how we can get more fans to interact with us and involve the citizens of the capital in new and interesting ways. That's the stuff that I'm looking forward to. Of course, great action and dressing better than Harry Turganian.
That shouldn't be too hard. So again, Capital Wrestling anniversary. It's the 1-year anniversary on March 24th, 301 Garden Street. Look for the man in the gold jacket. Thank you very much, Steven, for being on the podcast.
Absolutely, and welcome aboard. I mean, can we give a little shout out to you and Dustin for picking up the Capital Wrestling podcast ball and running with it right out of the gate?
Yeah, thank you. Dustin, I've known Dustin for a couple of years, and we have very, very good camaraderie, and we're very, very good friends. So,
good chemistry.
Yeah, thank you. I'm obviously better, but
yes.
That goes without saying, actually. But yeah, we love doing it, and it's something that, since we were doing it primarily for our Pro Wrestling Iowa podcast, we got to do all the cool stuff, because I was the one in New York, and now we're in my backyard. So,
and now you get to do the cool stuff. I mean, anywhere you go, you're doing the cool stuff. You could be making an omelet, and still it'll be the coolest thing in the room.
I agree.
There you go.
Where can people follow you on social media if you want them to?
You can follow me at Late Night with SJ on Twitter or Late Night with Stephen James on Instagram. Those are the best ways to follow me. I have a radio show every Wednesday morning, except for today during the snowpocalypse, 10 a.m. to 11. It's an advice show. It's still to be named. We had some legal issues with the name, so we're still testing that out. It's messenradio.com. That's MESN radio.com. Wednesdays at 10 a.m.
Thank you very, very much, Stephen. I will see you on March 24th, my friend.
Absolutely. I'll be there with gold on.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Hey guys, it's Darnell. We are back. I hope you enjoyed that interview. I had a blast with Stephen. He's a really, really sweet guy, and I hope to have him on the podcast again. speak to him a little bit longer, hopefully about other things and other things in life. And I cannot wait to see his gold jacket at Capitol Wrestling on March 24th for anniversary, which is, hey, look, I gave myself a great segue. March 24th. It's going to be amazing. It's the 1 year anniversary of Capitol Wrestling. They made it simple by calling it just anniversary. We are gearing up. It's 3 weeks away? It's just around the river bend, as Pocahontas would say. And we have the announcement of a couple of more matches. We know last week it was revealed that Mifo Mofo will not be defending his Sapphire TV Championship against Jason Karloff, but Jason Karloff will still be at the Capitol, and I don't know who he's wrestling yet, but I'm sure he's going to destroy them because it's Jason Karloff. We know that Darius Carter again will be making his debut with the Brass Ring Invitational. Steven said during the interview that is the thing he is most looking forward to. I am very interested to see who takes up the call for this because I think that could be a very, very exciting match and a great way to introduce someone new to the Capitol. We know that Juba again is making his return for the Capitol, undefeated 2017. Looks to continue that streak. And I think that with someone, well, not continue that streak because he lost to the Master of Excellence, but I think that someone like Juba is looking to sort of get back his momentum that he slowly lost at Masterclass. And he's an incredible talent, so I can't wait to see what he brings. We know that Anthony Gagon is going to be wrestling Bo Crockett. That's Bo Crockett, which would be a really, really fun match. Anthony making his return to Capitol Wrestling. Bo is hopefully going to not be sneaky and hit people in the kneecap like he did with Colossal Mike Law, so we'll keep a lookout for that. The Chuck Payne and Meek Drake will be wrestling against one another sort of hot contesting matchup. And then we, of course, have the Tag Team Gauntlet. We already knew that Nyla Rose and Rumped Up were going to be a part of it. We already knew that Sex Craze, who is Matt Sales, and Smiley was going to be a part of it. But it's now confirmed that the Perfect Strangers, that's Andros the Greek and Marcus Marquis, and now the returning Ryan Zane and Vinny Pacifico will be added to that match as well. This match is going to be a barn burner. I cannot wait to see this tag team match. I love me some Nyla and Rumped Up, so I would love for them to prevail in this tag team gauntlet. But you never know what a match like this, who's going to come out on top. All my luck, all my best to all of the competitors in this grueling style matchup. Last but not least, we know that the main event is Sunny Kiss against Matt McIntosh. If Matt loses, he will not be offered a title shot for the entire year of 2018. Matt had a hard time in 2017 for Capitol Wrestling. He won his first match at Masterclass in that great Fatal 4-Way match with KTB, Swipe Right Jockeys, and Kid Osborne. Matt McIntosh is one of the most exciting people to watch wrestle. I'll actually be watching him this Saturday at WrestlePro in Brooklyn, so that should be very, very fun. If you're at that show, please come say hi to the well-dressed man in the second row. That's me. So yeah, Matt McIntosh and Sunny Kiss. It's going to be a hell of a contest. It's going to be athletic as hell. People are going to be running around. There's going to be so much jumping, high-flying action, technicality, brutality. So that is the best main event that Capitol Wrestling could ever imagine putting on a year into their company. So that's going to be the match to watch. And if you did not know also, Capitol Wrestling, we're on TV, y'all, in New York City, Queens Public Television. So please check your local listings for where you can find it on Spectrum, RCN, and Fios. All that information is available on our Twitter at Capitol Wrestling. That's O, no G. And also on our Facebook page as well. March 24th anniversary. That's Hoboken. That's 301 Garden Street, Hoboken, New Jersey. Please get your tickets online. Groupon is always doing a promotion with us, so you can probably get discounted tickets that way, or you can get tickets at the door. All I know is that I want to see all of your pretty faces there and help support Capitol Wrestling. That's going to be it for this week's episode. Again, Dustin will be making his return next week, so you don't have to listen to me the entire time. You can, if you do want to hear my ridiculous tweets, don't forget to follow me at DinoLicious, to follow the Pro Wrestling Mothership at PW Mothership, where we also talk about all brands of wrestling and talk about how awesome Capital Wrestling is. Don't forget to follow Capital Wrestling on Twitter at Capital Wrestling. Again, that's all no G. They're also available on Facebook at Capital Wrestling and on Instagram at Capital Wrestling. Thank you very much, citizens of the Capitol. It is always a pleasure to talk about good, wholesome wrestling with you, and I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you guys next week. Cheers.